Kicking off Global Design Talk by btrax. Today, I will be interviewing Livia Johanna, who is a UI UX designer who was born and raised in Indonesia. I think you're the person that we're talking to who was born and or raised in Indonesia, but you found your way to San Francisco back in 2012 to pursue fashion design career, and you attained a degree. But I won't go more into that. I'd love for you to introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
Sure. And first of all, thank you, John, and thank you, btrax, for inviting me here. I'm super excited to talk about design and, talk about myself. So yeah, I'm a designer with focuses in product design and fashion design. Like, you mentioned, I started my design journey for almost 12 years ago. It's been a long way. So I started with fashion first, and then, something about art and physical products, and then found my way into product design, which was about more digital.
Interesting. And you actually made the decision after getting your degree in fashion technical design to go back to school
Mm.
and change focus to web design and new media, right?
Yeah.
How much time was in between those two kind of endeavors?
It was like around 1 to 2 years. I think at the time I felt like I was younger, so I felt like I needed to learn more and study more. And I think it was, the best decision to get into product design because I learned so much about design, but also like improving my soft skills in collaboration, communication, and the business side of things that, I got exposure in product design, like creating systems and, solving problems that are scalable that I didn't get, to learn much in fashion.
Right. And so your approach to basically design communication, it evolved over the last, I would say, 12 years. Um, and I mean, one of the things that I'm interested to learn also is what does design mean to you? Like, it's a very broad question, but I'm always fascinated because design is so, it can be a broad and general term.
I think design means a lot to me because I've been doing that since I was younger, and I've been doing that for years. But I think regardless what industry it is, I think design is about the process of solving a problem, from like identifying meaningful problems and then creating solutions that are usable, laughable, intuitive, and also like aesthetically pleasing for people.
Does that make sense? And I love how you described it. It was easy for me as a non-designer to understand what you were talking about. Um, Tell me what you loved about being a fashion or graphic designer before you even went and got your master's degree.
Yeah. I think fashion was like, very exciting. I think fashion is such an interesting industry because you've got, exposure to, a lot of people, and like you're able to create something that's like, super exciting or like super new without others to like, judge what you're creating. It's such like a free world, in my opinion. Um,
Mhm.
so that was like very exciting, creating something that, like within days you're able to create something physical and like something that you can wear or like you put on others. Um, and digital design is also, interesting. I think they share similarities in, process, like prototyping is also similar. Like we also do that in digital design. Um, I think in digital design, the some of the differences that I've experienced is that in fashion, it takes longer to like create something until you have the end product that you like or like that you're proud of. Because like you have to
Mhm.
do multiple prototypings, you have to like buy fabrics, cut fabrics, and you carry a lot of things versus like digital design. You just carry a laptop and probably like a pen and sticky notes. So I think there's like a difference in that way.
Got it. And then you went from that to web design, new media, and then a variety of different roles that weren't related to fashion. Is that was kind of one of the trends or connecting lines between all of that kind of product design? Has that basically been a focus right from the start?
A great question. So my focus from the start was fashion, right? So then
Mhm.
um, my last job in fashion was related to textile design, where I was designing using
Mm.
Illustrator. And I got
Mhm.
curious into learning more about digital design. I came across, product design. But I
Yeah.
think, some people might think, from fashion to product design, it was kind of like a switch, right? Some people might think that I changed my direction. But to be
Mhm.
honest, I think, it was a continuation, of my learning where, it's all
Mhm.
about design. It's similar, it's design. And to me, I just got deeper and deeper into the world of design. I'm just able to design multiple different things. That's how I see it.
All right. Continuous growth, basically, kind of becoming better and better at different ways of creating and designing. Um, well, and what's interesting is you've also worked at I would say, fashion companies such as like Samsung, Cruise. Um,
Mhm.
how have those design roles and experiences differed from kind of like what you first did out of school?
Um, I think different. I think first of all, it's like different type of product that, I was
Mhm.
designing. But I think for both experience, fashion and product design, I've experienced working in a larger corporate company versus like, a smaller company. I think
Mhm.
there were like pros to cons to each. I think, in a larger company, there were like more, people to collaborate with or like within, one project. And there
Yeah.
were, more layers into like the process and stuff. Um, and I think like in talking more about the differences between working in a larger company versus smaller company. I think in the larger company, it was interesting because like things were, well more, like better documented versus like in a
Mhm.
smaller startup. I was like, I thought about something and then I was gonna create something that I thought no one else has thought about before, but obviously they did. It was just, wasn't documented well. But they're smart people, and a lot of people thought about how to improve things. It's just different environment. I think like
Got it.
design, it was also in a larger company. I think
Mhm.
like the library or the design system, were well established already versus like in a smaller
Mhm.
team, you're able to impact the product, but also being helpful to the team by improving process and like systems, etc. So I think like both are impactful in different kind of ways.
Got it. And how have platforms or tools that you use changed in the last 12 years?
I think design is evolving. I think there are always like new tools and softwares to use, but I think when it was like remote, I think we just, you know, kind of lean more into remote collaboration. So tools that,
Mhm.
enable you to collaborate remotely were, something that we use, especially during COVID.
Got it. And for better or for worse, I feel like there's so many apps, platforms nowadays that allow people that may not have a design background to feel like they're designers, right? But doesn't necessarily raise the level of quality of design. It just makes it there the opportunity for more to be out there, right? And so what do you is there any kind of fun apps or platforms or tools that you recommend people try out?
Yeah, I think top of mind for me, I think uh I could probably something that I could think of was, when you said was Jam, because when we were collaborating remotely, people who were not in the design team, like, operations or product managers, they could easily use FigJam and collaborate with us and, do
Yeah.
workshop and give feedback. That's also a part of design process that, non-designers could be a part of. And I
Mhm.
think you can also use that to like, draw something and stuff. So I think that might be something to look at as well.
That's actually a really great point that I had not thought of is these different tools that have made it easier to communicate with non-designers and show your work, right? And kind of have that collaboration, transparency, and help others feel like they're part of the process also.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. I want to know more about your time at Cruise. So, you know, when you're designing for something that's kind of new, right? Like obviously automotives or automobiles, cars, whatnot, are not new, but the idea of a self-driving car. Can you tell us a little bit about kind of what you were designing there and how that experience was?
Yeah, so my focus was customer service.
Mhm.
So we were, I think like in a self-driving technology, customer service, was new also, not like a classic customer support where you just like, send an email or like chat with people, but like in an experience where you might be on your own in the car, there's no other people. Customer support was kind of a role where, someone you could talk to,
Mhm.
someone help you. So I think that was an interesting product area that, where I could like, I learned so much from my experience. Um, and yeah, I think like it was interesting because, combining both of my experience of, physical and digital product, where I think in a car, there are, a physical aspect to the experience. And, there's also digital parts of it with, the app or like the tablet. Um,
Mhm. All right, that's fascinating. Yeah, I can only imagine if you get into a car that doesn't have, you know, a human driver, you definitely, if you have questions or need help, you want you want support right away, right? Because you might feel very alone if going through a situation like that. What's next for you? Like, you know, you've had all these fun, different types of experiences.
yeah, great question. So, I am currently creating something on my own, so stay tuned, people. I think I've been, I've had experience working in a larger company, smaller companies, different types of products and, industries. I
Mhm.
feel like it's for me to, start something on my own that's, very exciting, and I'm excited to,
Stay tuned. All right, yeah. Um, it's it's fun interviewing designers because so many designers are very entrepreneurial. And also, though, like a lot of the designers I speak to are also interested in education or helping, you know, the next generation of designers find their way or figure out what their focus will be. What advice do you have for anybody who's getting into maybe design currently?
yeah, another great question. So I think what I learned that I wish, I learned earlier in my career, I think finding someone that you admire and, that's not too far from you, not like, someone who passed away or like someone who's like a super celebrity that you never get a chance to interact with. But
Mhm.
like find someone that, maybe like mentor somewhere in another company or like could be in your company and get a chance to regularly meet with them, get to know them, like ask questions. How did you get here? How, what's your process looks like, and work with them. I think that's like very powerful to accelerate your growth because
Mhm.
lead by example is, I think, the best method to learn. It's not just theory, but like when you see someone who did something that's like really great, you could say and be like, I want to be that person. And then you could start, doing the same thing and see what works for you. So I think
Mhm.
that's something that's, I found very powerful. Yeah, I think the next thing I think is about, like anytime in your career, not just like early year in your career, I think always be curious and, ask questions. I think there's always opportunity to learn in any situation, even,
Mhm.
when things don't go well. I think there's even more opportunity to learn in that situation. And I think as a designer, it's important to, be brave and be vulnerable to show your work quickly and often. It's not
Mhm.
only a chance to, like improve the design itself, but also your design skills and practice communication. I think communication is very important for designers. But yeah, I think in order to do all of that, you have to be a person to, that's always open to feedback and hearing others. Feedback doesn't always come, when you did something wrong, but you could also be proactively asking, continuously asking for, how can I do better? What did I do well? I think also knowing what you did well was also helpful, which, I've found it harder to do in my career to talk to people and ask.
That was actually really great advice, not just for designers, but for anybody, right? Like, I think the curiosity piece is key. I think people that are maybe more junior in their career or just starting the workforce, they'll be surprised by how much other people want to support and help them, right? Like, so don't be afraid to ask. Obviously, I think there's an opportunity when you're approaching somebody who may be more senior that you respect, that you're also aware of their time. So be kind of targeted with kind of what you're looking to get. And I think that's really good advice on your part. Thank you for that. Um, I have another question actually that as you were speaking and kind of talking about your story and your background, um, when somebody comes from a different culture or region and they enter like moving from Indonesia to the States, I think there's a level of empathy that typically is a part of who you are, right? Like, and that plays a part in your design and whether you're designing for somebody who is maybe the exact persona of yourself, but also understanding that there's so many different types of personas. That's my long way of saying and wanting to know, user experience wise, is there anything that you notice day in day out of time in Indonesia versus the US of like, oh, well, it's just a very different experience, whether we're talking about an app, a product, a service. Is there anything that just kind of pops out and it's like, oh yeah, this is so different from when you go to Indonesia versus if you're in the States?
Right. Hmm. I think it really depends on, what context we're talking about. But I think what I notice, I think very different user behavior and like their motivations and like their goals. I think, it's interesting to see that, in different regions, those are different. So it's important to, like you said, like think about who you're designing for and for, which part of the world they're in, or like what their backgrounds or what their motivations and like, their behaviors like. But, definitely opportunity to design, using like inclusive design process mindset and empathy, like you said. Like you might be thinking that someone might do this or might use this like how you use it, but probably not true, because there might be some people in other parts of the world who's like using things differently. So I think in a way it's about making design that or like solving problems with a solution that's scalable and inclusive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that all makes sense. That all makes sense. Thank you so much. Any last bits of advice you would want to just put out there? Anything you want to share that maybe I didn't ask yet?
Yeah. Last piece of advice, I think for designers, it's like important to be resilient. I think design is not
Mhm.
easy. Our path is filled with successes and also failures. Could be on a daily basis, like you're doing something but it doesn't work out, or like you said something or like talk to someone, but it could have been better. I think that's important to be aware and like recognize how you could be better each day, and just keep pushing and keep learning and make sure to enjoy what you're doing and enjoying the ride.
Awesome. Great advice. And for anybody who's looking to connect with Livia, we'll be sharing her LinkedIn information. Everybody, thank you for listening to this interview. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you took a little bit from what Livia shared. And if you did like this interview, if you like this channel, I just hope that you like, comment, subscribe, do all the things that these different channels are requesting. We appreciate the support, and thank you so much, Livia, for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.